The last presentation, the last but not least, obviously, is Gayatri Manukuti, whom I also have the pleasure of knowing, a PhD scholar and assistant professor at Amachi Labs at Amrita University. Gayatri will talk about autonomous social robots to promote proper hand hygiene among children in India, and the role of women in this in particular also. So without further ado, Gayatri, the floor is yours for 10 minutes as all the rest. Thank you so much. I'm not sure you're unmuted. Are you unmuted?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Gayatri.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I work at Amachi Labs, which is a twin center for the Center for Women Empowerment and Gender Equality. And this is a specific case study that I would like to present about our work on.
Oh, Gayatri, we have a problem. We can't hear you very well.
Designing an autonomous. Is it any better now?
Yes, please carry on.
Okay, so the COVID-19 pandemic has brought several problems to the forefront. One among being the school closures that children are facing because of the lockdowns that has been imposed by that. Slowly, as the pandemic is trying to take its exit out, or hopefully, are we trying to get to that post-pandemic phase, one of the important things that needs to be brought in is a way to reopen the schools in a very safe manner. And some of the guidelines that WHO and UNICEF have given on this includes promoting hand washing often, and to also maintain social distancing and things like that. But several interventions on hand washing behavior in the past have not really been successful in actually bringing about the change of hand washing.
Sorry, Gayatri. Tonita Halam, your microphone is on. Could you just switch it off, please? Because it interferes. Tonita, can you hear us? Please switch off your microphone. Thank you. Carry on, Gayatri, sorry.
Yeah, so hand washing, as I was saying, is not an easy thing that we have been able to be very successful with, and to do it properly in order to spread the infections. So why are we designing a robot for hand washing? One, because we are working with children, and if we promote hand washing behavior at a very young age, it really has the potential to make hand washing a habit forming exercise. Also, children really enjoy working with with robots. So, it is a very attractive thing. And the robot, when it can be made autonomous, can keep giving repeated gentle nudges and reminders to bring about the behavior change. Further, such AI that we develop for hand washing behavior can actually be used in other domains. So here, I want to talk to you about a work that we had done at Amachi Labs. This actually started before the COVID pandemic started, which is almost a vision from Dr. Bhavani, as if she knew that the pandemic is going to strike. And this was a proof of concept study where we designed this social robot called Pepe. But here we remotely operated the robot. So it was just a proof of concept work that we were trying to see how effective robots will be in such kind of behavior change interventions. And in this study, what we found is that there was a significant change. It was a 3-day experiment that we did. And even after we removed the robot, after 3 days, even after 1 week of the intervention, children were still continuing to wash hands, and they were maintaining, when we were looking at the quality of the hand washing, they were still continuing to do it in a proper manner. So right now we are working on designing an autonomous robot for promoting hand washing behavior. So our research objectives when we are trying to do this is twofold. One is to develop an AI model which can recognize the hand washing action. So the quality of the hand washing that's being done. And the other AI that we are developing is to actually help the robot converse with the children. So it is a conversational agent. The details of this AI, I will not get to here because of the lack of time. So if anybody is interested to know more about this particular project, I am very happy to discuss our work. So, okay, this is all nice. And we are talking about hand washing and children and all that. But how does it really relate to what we are talking about, gender equality and the importance of that in this? Dr. Bhavani had given a talk last week, or maybe it was 1.5 weeks back, at a conference held at Amrita on AI and women. And this is something that she had talked about, and I would like to present it here as a very relevant point for the work that we have done in this hand washing robot project. The first point is that even when you are working with an AI system and we try to train an AI system with very balanced data sets, that means we have men participants and we have women participants, and we try to train an AI with both the data sets. The way the AI models are currently working, they tend to amplify the association between the labels and the gender. Even though we are not doing any gender recognition or any gender related task, the AI model automatically does it in that way. So even though we have balanced data set, it is almost as if we don't have a balanced data set. The other aspect that I would like to bring about is that, human beings, in our language, in our ideologies, we have gender ideologies embedded in us. So when we converse, when you take any chat conversation that you see in Facebook or in anything, it will be laden with stereotypical concepts of gender. And if you build AI models based on such conversations, right, it will only perpetuate this bias, this gender bias that is already existing. And also the other issue is that there is always an overrepresentation of men in the design of AI and robotics. So some of the speakers before me also alluded to this particular point that, when you ask girls and when you ask them to participate in things like creating robots or developing robots, invariably the boys are a little more enthusiastic in this. And I will touch upon it a little bit later in the presentation also. The third point that I would like to say is that human psychology is such that we tend to, associate gender on a lot of things, even if it is ungendered. So even if unintentionally any gender norms are built into the hardware, say, for example, you have a gender neutral body, but the voice of the particular robot has an implication of a gender, then you tend to associate a gender to it. So now, with these challenges, what are we doing at Amachi Labs to, address this? For the first part, we are having a team of women who are at all levels engaged in such work, in both the AI and the robotics work. So our technology development team has students who are women who are doing their masters in robotics. The project lead for this project currently is me, and there is a very strong project committee, review committee, looking at the work that is being done, the ethics committee giving approval on the kind of work that we do with the children, and also the field engagement partners. And here I would like to say that we also make a conscious effort to engage girls in this work. Now, when we try to do this, very often when we ask girls to participate, we give them the informed consent. What we find is that the informed consent is given back by the parents of the boys. So we have to make an extra effort to make sure that the girls are included and their voices are heard. So here, from our co-design study that we recently completed, you will see the kind of robots we had asked the children to make with just paper and the kind of designs they came up with. If you see at a cursory look, there isn't a direct, overt expression of gender, though there are subtle expressions of gender in the pictures, but between the boys and the girls, there is not a very, it's not like the girls say that they must have all a girl looking, they are not having some features like, hair of a girl or cheeks or earrings. That is not how they suggested their robot to be. Also, I'd like to bring the point that when we asked them what is important in their robot, they said that the social connectedness is the most important point and not the physical embodiment. I would like to also bring some results that we got from our Pepe robot that I initially mentioned that our researchers had done. Here we had 21 female participants and 22 male participants in this particular study. And we had given this robot a female voice and we had changed the pitch so that it resembles a child and not like a man or a woman. It looks like a child's voice. And when we asked the children what voice they think the robot is, most of the children said the voice of the robot is a male. And we also saw that when we asked the boys, 91% of the boys thought Pepe was a male, and almost 60% of the girls thought Pepe was a female. So basically, they thought whatever their gender is the gender of the robot. This has a very strong implication in the sense, as I said, we tend to impose gender. So if you see the gender of Pepe, it's just a hand. It doesn't really have any gendered features that was built into it. And yet we impose gender on even ungendered or genderless creation. And most of the children said that the reason they attributed the gender was because of the voice. So what implication does this have in technologies like persuasive technologies? What I would like to say is that gender issues are really very complicated when you are looking at real life applications, and it is a very evolving area of research. Gender cues can get embodied in social robots in very subtle ways, like the voice or even the name of the robot, or you develop a certain kind of personality, a stance that the robot takes can give it a gender cue. So gendering also is being pursued because they feel that there are many researchers who feel that gendering the robots can actually, help users relate to it more. But the downside of this is that it has the potential to reinforce gender stereotypes. So jobs that are typically considered something that women are supposed to do, and you end up having a robot that, it looks is having a gender, having a gender of a woman, it generally reinforces the stereotype of that. So in this talk, I would like to just call to action that when we are creating persuasive technologies for behavior change, it really requires in-depth studies from a gender lens. And this has to be something that has to be consciously built in. And the previous speakers were also talking about how robotics and AI are getting more and more mainstream. Yeah, and the COVID pandemic has made technology almost a very necessary part of our daily life. So such careful considerations have to be built in, and the voices have to be of gender equality have to be carefully embedded into it. Otherwise, we will end up concealing problems that are already existing and probably even accentuating it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gayatri. Very interesting. Also bringing in this dimension of bias in technological development, AI in particular, and how that sort of spreads out. And I think that is something that is very important and will become increasingly important as the technological revolution advances.